Yes, yes. Coffee Conversations with Greg J is on. How are you today? You doing all right? Yeah, me too. You know, going through this Black History Month. Today is the anniversary. This is the date that they shot and killed Malcolm X at the Audubon Ballroom, New York City. Go online and see some of those documentaries that are out there and see if you can um, get a history. I know that. Remember while we were in COVID, there was that one that said who killed Malcolm X, and it was a lot of people were talking about it, and it really ran down some powerful leads. And now we find out that some of the facts revealed in that documentary may have led to the release or the exoneration of some of the people who had been convicted and put into prison for the murder of Malcolm X. Our leaders, in those days, just getting shot down and killed, man, by government. And it's interesting that now in this generation, we revere those leaders. We've always revered them in the Black community, but across America, diverse minds, right, embrace the legacy of our leaders. But the legacy is clear, from Medgar Evers to Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. The list is pretty long of leaders in the struggle that have been killed, assassinated by those who would promote hate in our land. Biden's on the news right now, I guess imploring the Russians to stand down in this war in Ukraine and pledging more and more support towards Ukraine. And, there's a lot of rhetoric there, you guys, in Europe, and just keep your eye out on that. Today, I just want to, turn it's Mardi Gras time too. Look, Fat Tuesday. You ever been down to New Orleans during this time? Woo! What a great time. What a great time of culture. And it was interesting. I saw a story today on Trombone Shorty, who was sharing, Mardi Gras time from his perspective, from his community, and it's always a story that we have that aligns with what's happening in mainstream America. There's always been what we're doing in our communities, because back in the day, and even now, we weren't really allowed, or there was resistance to our presence in certain spaces. Right. And that's just what it is there. 2023, they're saying 50 years of hip hop. 50 years of revolutionary music that some said would only be a fad. Others say, hey, you know what, it's going to live. I'm observing, as I look around, I'm observing how people talk about the 50th anniversary. I think hip hop has come to a level of maturity. Remember last year they had the Eve After Dark, Compton, West Coast hip hop display at the Super Bowl halftime show. You can't get any more general market than that. There's so many things. The Grammy Awards paying homage to the 50th anniversary of hip hop. A lot of people out there, man, are talking about, this 50th anniversary and wanting to tell the story and the history of hip hop. And I'm not really trying to bag on anybody, but I just want to make observations. This is coffee conversations, right? But I do see a lot of people who do not have a real association with hip hop and striving to tell the story. And I feel like that is fundamentally wrong, because I really believe that those who were there, those who were the influencers of the time, who gave birth to this culture, I must emphasize that when we say 50 years of hip hop, it's the culture. Hip hop is a culture. Rap is the music, right? hip hop is the culture, breakdancing, graffiti writing, rapping. That's what's up. Clothing, style of how you, walk and all of that, Godfather of West Coast hip hop is here. We want to have this discussion. That's what we're talking about. Brother Alonzo Williams. Let me get you in here. Kapow. Are you there? There you are. Well, he was there.
I'm here. There you
go. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Doc. How you feeling today?
Man, doing all right. Moving and grooving.
All right. I'm just hipping and hopping, as they say.
Sir, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Alonzo, man, 50 years of hip hop. Can you believe it?
Yes and no, man. When they told us, oh, this ain't gonna last, it's gonna be like disco. It's gonna die like disco. Right. And we didn't let it die. We kept on life support, and now it's up and running the world.
Man, it's really interesting because I look back on those days. I mean, from the beginning, and I never could have imagined, the culture being so mainstream. If we look at the Department of Graph Writing, even, and I told you, I shared with you, I was the president of the Arts Council for Long Beach, right? Mm-hmm. And a big part of their advocacy are these murals that you see around Long Beach. And I'm like, wow, look at how graph writing has evolved into this like very serious art form.
Right.
It's very interesting.
Everything we've done and everything that was done in hip hop, man, has been accepted by the mainstream, the dance, the music, the clothing, everything. And it's just funny how to sit back and look at what's happening. And when I was backstage listening to you talk, how so many people, oh yeah, we loved it. You didn't love it when we brought it. You didn't stand it. You thought it was the worst thing in the world. And I can't stand a phony son of a gun, man. I can't stand it. And I think the only thing burns me more than a phony is somebody who just trying to rewrite history and put themselves as being a hero when they was a zero. Now, oh my God, that burns me. So, I have issues with some of my so-called, some of my folks. We have issues because you're trying to rewrite history and put yourself in positions that you weren't in. I'm a history buff. Period. I love history, and especially Black history, and to be a part of history and see people try to just assert themselves in positions that they were never in. No, man, you can't do that.
It's interesting. Let me ask you this question. So 50 years of hip hop, did that apply to the West Coast?
You know what? And I'm glad you asked me that. Okay. Because it all depends on how you want to interpret hip hop. The term was not coined for us. We never heard the word until the late 70s, early 80s. Late 70s, early 80s. But the activities that led to hip hop, locking, Fred Berry, and the boys that was doing the locking from the Soul Train. That was our first introduction to something different. Okay. If anything was a hip hop genre, that whole locking thing, when folks was hopping around and Don Campbell and all Shabba-Doo and all those guys.
Shabba-Doo, yes.
And doing their thing. And that was something that was totally different. But they did it to R&B music. Okay, it wasn't rap music. So if dance is a part of the hip hop culture, I definitely have to include locking, not pop locking, as one of the forms that evolved into something else that led to breakdancing and pop locking. And dude, I've had this debate on my show, and it's one of those things that we're going to go with the status quo because status quo says in 1973, Kool Herc gave a dance at I think it was 520 Sedgwick for a back to school dance, and that was the beginning of hip hop. But there was no hip hop records at that time, and when it comes to giving dances and we can go back even further than that here on the West Coast. But again, just to keep down confusion and to roll with the status quo, we're gonna give it. We're gonna say that's gonna be the date for as it stands right now.
All right, we accept the date, but we got an asterisk over here on the West Coast.
It all depends on how you want it. Because, like I said, the definition of hip hop, we never heard the word. We didn't hear the word till 79, till rappers like him, hip hop, hip hop. That's when we first heard the word. Okay, but the activities that would participate in, that was being developed was long before that. So it all depends. The chicken before the egg, chicken or the egg, which one came first? Okay.
Right. You hit me to something last time you were here, when we were talking about music, and I guess I kind of, because I'm a native Californian, I probably took the exercise for granted, but we were observing how when they began to talk about, hip hop from on the East Coast, they would talk about their block parties and how they would get the electricity, out of the light poles, right? Okay, yeah, that goes with how, New York is structured and everything. But you reminded me that we used to go in the parks, in California, get the electricity out of the bathroom right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my daddy was a handy Andy. He showed me how to be a handy Andy Jr. And all I did was I kept some black tape in my truck and a pair of pliers and a screwdriver. And any bathroom, there's a little flat plate in the bathroom, and that flat plate usually has wires under that plate that are probably either coupled off with some little buds or whatever. And you tie a red to one and a hot to the other one, and you have power. Okay,
nice.
And we did that many a day at Peck Park, right there on Western and right before you get to Palos Verdes in Lomita. So yeah.
I was explaining to some young folks the other day about Uncle Jam's Army. Talk about Uncle Jam's Army and their contribution to the legacy of hip hop culture on the West Coast.
Uncle Jam's Army was my rival group. Me and Roger, the leader of Uncle Jam's Army, he and I started off together as partners, and just like so many other friends in hip hop, we split up. And when I formed the Eve After Dark, I asked him to be a partner. He told me no. And then after Eve became successful, he wanted to be a partner. I told him no, okay? And it upset him to the highest level of festivity. And he decided I'm going to be the biggest promoter, blah, blah, blah. Go ahead. I'm going to keep making this money over here on Avalon El Segundo. And, we had a one-upmanship competition, man, that was like nobody else, dude. I refused to let him beat me. He refused to let me beat him. And they started doing big dances. They started doing dances. We all did dances. Everybody was doing dances. But Roger and I were the last two dance promoters that stuck around, and we were the only two that transitioned into hip hop. There was other dance promoters before us. There was LSD Promotions, Z-Car Promotions. John Carter is the godfather of all dance promotions here on the West Coast. We were going to his dances in high school, in 10th grade or whatever. But we're the ones that we were the last ones that came into the promotion situation. I worked with all those guys, but as hip hop started to develop, or because I had a club, I was able to get a club. We stick around and we kind of morphed into the hip hop thing, where everybody else either went into something else, politics, real estate, or whatever the case may be. Roger and I were the last two hanging on, and my thing became more club promotion. Roger got into more. He got into more concert promotion, and one of the things he would do the sports arena from time. He did about 3 or 4 dances at the sports arena, which made them legends in hip hop. And we still fought. In my documentary, he talks about how he brought Run DMC to California first, which is not true because I brought him there. And what I realized is, as people tell stories, there's multiple stories going at the same time. It's like a multi-track. History is like a multi-track recorder. There's drums on one track, cymbals on another track, guitar on another track, but everybody's on the same song. Okay.
Yeah.
So where you come in on this song will determine where your beginning is. And we were having a debate about Run DMC. Well, I had brought Curtis Blow to Eve After Dark first time. And then Russell he wanted me to bring his brothers out here. Russell Simmons wanted me to bring his brothers out here, Run DMC. And I said, I'm gonna bring him out here just to spite Roger, because Roger had a sports arena coming up. And I'm gonna do Run DMC that Friday to offset his sports arena, get my money, because the sports arena was gonna be big. I knew that. I can't hate on it. It's gonna be big. I'm gonna get my money Friday and go on and just do my thing. Well, they did it that Friday, but then Run DMC wouldn't work for him on that Saturday the next day. Okay, it was a big problem for that one. So if you was at Eve After Dark, you saw Run DMC first at Eve After Dark. But if you was at the sports arena, that's where you saw him at first. So the debate is still going on in 2023. Who brought him first? But I bought the plane ticket. So anyway, Doc, man, we were rivals. We were partners. And in my documentary, I say how we were the nitro and glycerin that blew up the West Coast. You know, we got along, but we didn't get along. We had different business philosophies. His thing was always big. Mine was always consistency. I like not having to haul my equipment every week. His thing was, I'm gonna do the biggest dances. Okay, fine. I'm gonna sit right here in this corner and make myself a few $1,000s a week while you do something every other week. I'm gonna get here and get paid every week. And that was the difference in our situations. And it just made for an interesting rivalry. And I think the biggest thing he hated about me was no matter what he did, I had the after party. I got the after party. I don't give a damn. I'm still gonna get paid. Nice. I put myself in position to always get paid. So if you had the sports arena, the Veterans Auditorium, Alpine Village, I'd send my guys down there with some flyers. If you got a wristband or a stamp from Uncle Jam's Army or whatever, come on down. It's only $2 for the after party, and people love it.
Nice. That's right. You brought us. You brought us NWA, and talk a little bit about the metamorphosis of West Coast hip hop and how you came into NWA and bringing them to the world.
I get credit for NWA, but my credit starts with World Class Wrecking Crew, bringing in acts from New York City, Run DMC, Curtis Blow. When Run came to Eve After Dark, Run broke one of my microphones, pissed me off. Then he turned back around and went to work for Roger the next night. I'm like, oh man, y'all. I said, you know what? Forget y'all. I'm gonna start my own group. And that's what I did. That was simple as that. I got upset because he broke my microphone. In my documentary, in my latest documentary, he still does it today, where he walks off and drops the mic. Well, I only had 2 microphones. He broke one of them, and I just bought this microphone. And I'm like, dude, I didn't like the attitude. I didn't care for the attitude, and it was costing me money. And like I said, they wouldn't work for my rival the next night. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start my own group. And I started researching. In fact, I was already making records. I was making bootleg records back then. I knew the process. I just didn't put myself on one. So I took some of my Eve After Dark money and started a record company, Crew Cut Records, and grabbed my boy Clientele, DJ Yeller, and Dr. Dre, and we formed the World Class Wrecking Crew. And we had some pretty decent success to be pioneers in the game. And as the streets changed, they wanted to change the musical vibe, and I just wasn't one for switching in the middle of the stream. And 2 of them, Yella and Dr. Dre, went off and became NWA. And meanwhile, I consulted Eazy-E, introduced him to Jerry Heller, helped him put his label together. And it was a street label. It was about street songs. People forget about this. And they see it in the movie Straight Outta Compton. They were never trying to be gangster rappers because they were not gangsters. They was trying to be street rappers, reality rap. Okay, that's why one of the first songs was "Express Yourself," after the Charles Wright, the 103rd Street Band song "Express Yourself." Keeping it real. Okay, Same thing with Panning Zone. Same thing with Something to Dance To. These are their songs they came out with first, but they got their notoriety from F the Police. And that's when everything changed to the Raider gear and the gangster imagery. And right around the Rodney King situation, F the Police became the national anthem for all the youngsters, and it just changed the whole vibe.
Name some of the rappers from the beginning of hip hop and rap in Cali. I remember the first industry t-shirt I ever got was from my band Egyptian Lover.
Well, you know what? Before Egyptian Lover, man, there was a few guys that for all of us, there was a few guys. LA was working on its own sound back then. Okay. And people don't realize I'm gonna ask you a question. Do you know the first musical group out of Compton?
I don't.
People don't know it. It's War.
Oh, Harold Brown, my neighbor, Harold Brown and them.
War. Lonnie and these guys came out of Compton High School.
Wow.
They all went to Compton High School. So when it comes to the legacy of music out of Compton, you know, War sets that off. But nobody. It was at that time. It wasn't a thing to carry your neighborhood flag. But you know, we got songs like "Bad Times" by Captain Rap. I mean, this guy had one. That was a big song back in the day, dude. He was out of Inglewood. Okay. You had Toddy T Battleram. You had, you know, all these came before Egyptian Lover. Okay.
Who was big out of Long Beach?
Long Beach, man, that's a good question. I don't know much about Long Beach when it comes to music. I got to give you Snoop them as far as I can say offhand, but unless you know something I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just, you know,
I can't think of the Long Beach group that was before
Snoop and Warren G and all them.
Right. I can't give that to you. I don't know offhand. I wish I could tell you that, but I can't.
Very interesting, Lonzo, right there, because you know it's so funny how you hear the music, right, and you hear in the lyrics the common thread that Compton, Long Beach, Inglewood, you know, Crenshaw, it all comes together in this region of the state, right? In through the lyrics, and then to like reflect on the history, and we can't find a group before Snoop and them.
Right. Well, you know what? The person you'd have to talk to would be Kelvin Anderson. Kelvin would know because Kelvin probably either played this record or made this record or sold this record.
Right.
Kelvin is the man when it comes to Long Beach. Kelvin and I tell people Kelvin is Lonzo of Long Beach. Lonzo is Kelvin of Compton. Okay. We put the money down. We provide the platform for these brothers to get their feet off the ground and get their career started. And Kelvin did it from a retail standard. I did it from a nightclub and entertainment standard. So just, you know, we did the same thing, just in different ways.
I'm trying to read this. This looks like a question coming in through Coffee Conversations here. Let me just get my other glasses to read this. Hold on 1 second, y'all. I got a tiny screen right here. Hold on. Let me get my thing here. Got a tiny screen. He says, you can read that question there for me.
Yeah, he says, as organizations and communities create budgets and projects to celebrate and tell the story of hip hop, should they try to tell them stories themselves or take a supportive role to those who were there and actually built hip hop? I would tell whoever that is, absolutely. Okay, look. You're talking to a person who just shot his own documentary on Eve After Dark. I have another documentary being shot on me. And right after the movie Straight Outta Compton came out, it was a lot of people that was upset because they weren't in the movie. I was blessed to be in the movie. They played me as a hater, but I'm gonna tell you that's another situation. But you know, JJ Fad was the first gold record out of Ruthless Records. That's the one they built their company on. JJ Fad, Supersonic, the album. Michelle A was another platinum album they had that was not in the movie. So as people tell their stories, it's hard to tell all the stories because, like I said earlier, this is a multi-track situation. There's a lot of stories going on at the same time. You can't squeeze all these stories into 90 minutes or 2 hours or whatever the case may be. These stories require a mini series. They require like a mini series, like BMF or Power or anything else, because they're multifaceted. They go on for decades, and this is what Hollywood is slipping on when it comes to the West Coast music movement, even the East Coast music movement. I remember they did a project out of East Coast. And it was dancing and hopping around. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Okay. What are y'all doing?
Yeah.
And that's what happens when other people tell your story. It was produced by Nas, but evidently he must have had some other folks that wasn't melanated that got involved in it and turned it into a West Side Story. I'm like, dude, I can't take this. Every time somebody get upset, they start singing and rapping. Get out of here with that bull.
I think that was an excellent question because that's actually the goal of this series. This is about to be a series as we examine the 50 years of hip hop. I was a young executive at Bailey Broadcasting. I watched it, had a front row seat, floor seats to the birth of hip hop. And so what I'm gathering to do here is reach out to Lonzo, journalists, artists, people who were executives, people who were there to see, and let's have this conversation about the 50 years of hip hop, and especially from a West Coast perspective, because that's where we are. But we can reach out. We reached out to Dave Mays, the founder of Source Magazine. Do you remember that one, Lonzo?
Yes, sir. I still got a bunch of them in my house right now.
Nice. I met those guys when they were students at Harvard, and it was a newsletter printed on like blue paper.
Wow.
And that's how I met them, when they first came out, so those are the history tellers, the storytellers that we hope to get through here on Coffee Conversations with Greg J, so we can paint the picture of the real deal of hip hop. I want to say I want to show the trailer of Eve After Dark here, found it on YouTube there, Lonzo. But before we get to that, okay, so Eve After Dark is a tremendously influential night spot, in this generation that we're talking about, the hip hop culture, the hip hop generation. What was it like for you to watch that enacted on the Super Bowl halftime show?
The only thing I found that was as emotional for me to watch my club that I opened in 1979 at the age of 22 years old be on the global stage at the Super Bowl. The only thing that was more impactful for me was watching one of my kids being born, man.
Wow.
That dude, I'm sitting there, I'm like, damn, he forgot it. Dude, I get real sensitive sometimes, man. I'm a grown ass man, and I will cry from time to time. I ain't boo-hooing, but it made a tear run down my face, man. Because sometimes I forget. Sometimes I don't feel that I get the respect or the recognition that I deserve. And when somebody does that, whether it's for me or for the city of Compton, it's a great feeling. And even in my new documentary, Eve After Dark, Compton Love, Ice Cube says, it's a clip from Ice Cube. He was on the Breakfast Club, and he says the same thing. Lonzo took me under his wing, and he don't get the credit he deserved because he put a lot of work in before everybody got stars and got money, before the other folks came in and started being a part of this. Nobody believed in it. Hip hop was dying. I gave it life support. Okay, I'm the one that was giving it mouth to mouth. Me and other folks was giving it mouth to mouth to keep it alive until other folks realized, okay, we got it now. And wait a minute, hold on, what happened? If we don't get, we got it now. Don't worry about it. That's how it feels. Yeah, that's how it feels in a lot of ways, man. You down there. Hold on, I got you. And all of a sudden, the heartbeat comes, and everybody's cool. Take him to the hospital, and the person that kept him alive don't get no credit. Come on, man, that ain't how it's supposed to go.
I see Rose Almighty Hutchinson is on here.
That's what's up, baby.
Yes. I was up there rapping with the poetess when I was her manager.
Oh, you managed Rose?
Poetess.
Poetess, okay. Me and
Rose was part of our. Rose was the song "Love Hurts." Rose got a line on there where she had flows, yo.
Rose had flows. That's what she did. You know what? I talk about Rose and I talk about her group Body and Soul from time to time, and I talk about them because her and D Barnes, they formed that group pretty much out of the house here. They would rehearse here the whole 9 yards, and when they first got signed, they had them coming out in the nice salt and pepper haircuts and nice short dresses or whatever. And at some point in time, they changed and became more Afrocentric. And you never heard from the album again. Like, what happened? And this goes to show you when people say how record companies only want to promote certain images. In my book, that was one of the first ones I experienced, that when her and Dee decided to be more Afrocentric and put on some African type garb and wrap their hair up and not show their bodies in a way that was going to be provocative, they go, okay, cool. Next.
I mean, that's facts right there, Alonzo. And as I'd say, I had floor seats to the birth of hip hop culture. You had all these kids rapping about consciousness and progress in the community, healing in the community. And then all of a sudden you would see other people begin to show up at our events and everything like that. Soon and very soon you had murder and mayhem on the airways.
Yes, sir. And I say this all the time on my show. I'm gonna say it on your show. If you start replacing the N-word with puppies, gays, or J people, I can't say the other people, the J people, gangster rap would no longer exist. If you started to, all the stuff these kids say on all these records about killing folks and smoking this and doing this, if you're talking about LGBT community, you're talking about the Jewish community or puppies, it would be over with. Okay, it would be over with. But for some reason, because it's us, it's acceptable, and I think that's a combination of our it's like we don't want to snitch type situation. It goes back to that same kind of mentality. Is that you'll watch somebody do something messed up in your hood, but because somebody says you're a snitch for telling on a person who is definitely being a detriment to the hood, but you'd rather be considered not to be a snitch than to say, hey man, that ain't right. And the same thing with some of this music. I don't care. I'm a grown ass man. They can't cancel me no more. I'm already canceled. Okay,
right?
Some things just ain't right. Okay, and it shouldn't be accepted. Oh man, you just hating because you old, and they making money. Ain't gonna do it money. All money ain't good money. I don't care what nobody say.
No, it's so interesting to have this conversation about hip hop. Now, what was I going to ask you about Eve After Dark? Okay, so Eve After Dark. Now, this is an LA question right here. That's Avalon and El Segundo.
Avalon and El Segundo upstairs every Friday and Saturday night.
Did you ever go to the barbecue church?
I lived at the barbecue. That's why I got all this fat on me right now for the barbecue church. Come on, man. Barbecue, that's all we ate on Saturday mornings. Man, Saturday night for lunch. We go, the Rev, he probably made a good, I don't know, $50, $60 a weekend just off of me and my crew, because that was part of what we did. We would go to the barbecue church every night before they would close and buy a bunch of dinners, and that's what we ate. Okay.
Nice. That's funny. Y'all know y'all can chime in the chat if you know about that barbecue church over there. That's
I was back. I just left the Eve in 2019. Finally, I walked away. I retired after 40 years of that relationship. I walked away, and people still would come by looking for the barbecue on Sundays. On Saturdays.
Wow.
Because
it's no more, right?
They tried to bring it back, but it wasn't the same.
It wasn't the same, right?
You got, everybody can't cook the Colonel's chicken, man. You got to have them special herbs and spices.
Real talk right there, brother. All right. So Eve After Dark, the documentary, you decided, okay, I need to document this history, put it on tape, film, whatever. How was it like at the Pan-African Film Festival?
Man, dude. Let me set the story. Let me tell you how this went down. First we got rejected. Okay. And I was like, oh man, let's show this code. I just knew we was gonna get accepted. And I took another opportunity to go to New York for this Bloomberg class for Compton. And then right before it's time to go, we get an email. Oh, we're sorry, we overlooked it. Wrong person. You've been accepted to the Pan-African Film Festival. We need all the stuff by Friday. Oh my God. So now I look at my calendar, and the Pan-African Film Festival and the time I'm supposed to be in New York coincides day for day. I'm like, oh no. Studying. Now I got to make a decision. Am I going to go to New York? I'm going to support my movie. I got to support my movie, man.
Yeah.
And I sent out a couple of emails, one to the Pan African Film Festival, one to the people in New York, and everybody was sympathetic, and they gave me times to make it work. They gave us a good time for the movie, which was from last Friday, and then I was able to leave New York early enough to get back in time to participate in the screening. And dude, it worked out beautifully. A lot of the homies came out, a lot of the local DJs, a lot of people from the East came out. It was I call her my fairy godmother, Jeannie Billetary. She's a lady who financed Eve, but I didn't have no money. She financed Eve in the beginning. Her and her daughter came out. Most of the people that was in the documentary came out. We literally sold out the theater, dude. The theater was a sellout, and then it was so good they called us back to come back and do it again Sunday morning.
Very nice. Nice. Let's check in with this. Let's watch this. About 5 minutes, y'all. Let me just see this little preview so we can get an idea of what it is. And we'll talk about, other opportunities to view the film and a little bit more about hip hop history as we commemorate 50 years. Hold on one sec, y'all. One moment, please. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, come on. There it is. The technology there, Mr. Alonzo.
Take your time.
Yes, sir. Okay, here we go. All right.
You've had a lot of longevity. You've done a lot. The Godfather of West Coast hip hop.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you feel like you get the respect you deserve?
I get the respect I deserve from everybody except for the people who I did the most for.
So the answer is no.
The answer is yes and no.
The answer is yes and no.
The streets love me. People who know my contribution, that was there and know what I did for other people, I can't go nowhere. Everybody, everything but kissing the ring. I feel it. But the people that I did the most for, that was one endorsement could change my life.
Right.
My name won't come out their mouth.
Why do you think that is?
Don't know.
Everybody to the Wild Wild West, a state that's untouchable like Elliot Ness. The track hits your eardrum like a slug to your chest, like a vest for your Jimmy in the city of sex. We in that sunshine state where the bomb ass him be, the state where you never find a dance floor empty and pimp speed. On a mission for them greens, lean, mean, money making machines serving.
When you were watching the Super Bowl and you saw the Eve After Dark during the halftime, what's the first thing that hit you? What's the first emotion that just hit you?
I was at the Super Bowl, man. I was at the Super Bowl, and I got separated from my crew. And I was in a semi-private room with some other folks, and we really didn't know who I was. One guy kind of knew who I was. And I'm sitting there. I just got to eat some potato chips, man. And I looked up and I saw Eve After Dark on the Super Bowl. Oh, this motherfucker did it.
Oh my God, that's Eve After Dark. I pick up the phone. I call Marsha. I'm like, are you watching the Super Bowl? I called my mama. I said, are you watching the Super Bowl? I said, they just did the Eve After Dark. I was hyped. I jumped up. I was like, you go, Dre, represent. And then I text Lonzo. I don't know if you saw, I text Lonzo to say they representing.
Oh, man, I tripped. I said, wow, what a plug.
Amazing. Amazing. I mean, amazing, okay?
I said, a plug without your name. Damn. I mean, you just can't get, this is worldwide, man.
I watched it for the halftime show, and it was absolutely amazing. Dre did that. He did that.
Him. I just felt pride for him. I felt good for him because of all that he's gone through.
I almost lost my mind because it wasn't, I knew that the whole world was watching, but I knew the whole world probably didn't get the scope of what I was looking at. And from that standpoint, it felt personal almost.
Every time somebody go to talking about the Super Bowl, I say, hey, did you see that little sign that said Eve After Dark? Yeah. And then I give them a little lightweight little history lesson on that. I was there.
When I saw that, I just about cried.
Yeah, I said, oh, look, don't make me cry.
I didn't even know what to say. I started to call Alonzo, and but I was just sitting because I was just watching. I was at home watching the game with my wife, and I was just in so much amaze. And wow, look at that! Look at that! He gave Eve After Dark some props.
What's the first emotion that just hit you?
You see it right now. The pride of the city. Dre was there. Dre DJ'd most of those pop locking battles. He called me King Pop. He said, what's up, King Pop? You know, Dr. Dre, Yella, all of these are my brothers. We grew up in this thing just being ourselves. Shout out to Lonzo for creating that, man.
Wow, Lonzo. Let's see here. There you are. Lonzo.
Yes, sir.
That was incredible.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you.
Yeah, very, very incredible. So what was the reception at the African Pan-African Film Festival? How did people receive it?
You know what?
I mean, that's right. That's a pretty eclectic stage, you know.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. You know what? Everybody gave us nothing but thumbs up, which makes me kind of nervous. Okay. I love the support, but I want nothing but uncut, real opinions, so that I can put my best foot forward as we finish this thing. It's not totally finished yet. It's about 95% there, but we had enough for the Pan African Film Festival. But the response was so positive, it was so great and so solid, so consistent. You think you got something good, but you know, people like making you feel good, and I appreciate that. But every once in a while, I need that critic to make sure, hey man, you did, you know, I need somebody. I need it right now. Would be a good time for Roger to be here. If Roger was here, he would tell, oh man, if he said it was good, and I know I had something to work with, okay? Because he gonna find a reason to hate on it. That was part of his thing. I love him to death, but he would find something wrong with it, okay? But so far, man, it was unanimous. It was a great response. Like I said, we sold out the first show, and we had the second show on Sunday morning, and it was well attended.
You know, I got Roger's obituary around here, man. Rest in peace, my brother. Good guy. All y'all good guys. All right, I'm gonna name some rappers that I can remember from back in the day, and I'll tell you one of my favorites from back in the day. I used to hear him in the skating rink all the time. Was Mixmaster Spade.
Come on, man. Spade was the one. If you remember the movie, man, when they were talking about reality raps, that's what Spade was doing. That's what Spade was doing. Spade was the first one out of Compton talking about drugs and gangbanging or whatever the case may be. That's the street life, put it that way. And he was selling tapes right there in the hood. He used the same beat most of the time. He never really changed beats too much. And he inspired Toddy T, which inspired came up with the Battle Ram. And that whole genre of music was kind of spawned right there, man. It just evolved into what was known as gangster rap now.
What about Rodney O and Joe Cooley?
Rodney O and Joe Cooley, another one, man. I formed a company with Rudy Pardee, Egyptian Lover, and Unknown DJ. It was called West Coast Record Distributors. Okay, we left McCullough. McCullough had shut down, and we came together and formed our own distribution company. And Rodney O and Joe Cooley was one of the first albums we distributed through that company, and it took off, man. It just took off, you know. And these are things when they talk about why we don't have distribution. Well, we did it already. We did it back in 88, 89. Okay. That's how we got Rodney O and Joe Cooley. That's how you got JJ Fad. That's how you got King T. But our company didn't last that long because our egos was bigger than our brains. And shortly after we got some success, we self-destructed. But we came together as a group, four major players: Rodney O, Egyptian Lover, Unknown DJ, Rudy from the Dream Team, and myself. And Rose worked for us as well. And that's what we did at that time to keep hip hop going. It's another form of life support to keep hip hop going, because our first vein into hip hop was McCullough Records. McCullough had some issues. He got some new partners, and it wasn't cool to be around McCullough. Plus, people was picking McCullough's acts off left and right. And in fact, they picked us off. They gave us a deal at CBS. They gave Rudy a deal at Universal. Egyptian Lover had a deal over at Priority. Unknown didn't have a deal per se, but he was still shopping stuff at different labels. But he was producing outside of his own label. And when McCullough shut down, now we don't have a lifeline. So we had to create West Coast Record Distributors. Again, we had to give West Coast hip hop another jolt of life support. They give it with a clear, bam. All right, here we go. That's it. So these are the kind of things that, and I hate to keep saying but I was the one that came up with the idea because I was the last one to leave McCullough. Everybody else already left. And when I left McCullough, I left and came back. It changed so much. But because I was already selling my records to distributors around the country, I just wanted to hook up with some more folks to do the same thing and keep it going, because the people hadn't stopped making records. We figured if we have a distribution company, we can still make money. And that's what happened. But again, like I said before, our egos was bigger than our brains, and it's self-destructive.
Let me ask you, do you remember the Committee for Excellence in Black Music?
Yes, I do.
Yes. Yeah.
I did a couple of meetings over there with Alonzo Robinson, and Edna Sims and some other folks.
Edna Sims Porter used to do the ASCAP showcase. Yeah. I'm one of the founding members.
Okay, well,
that was me and Jerry Davis.
Wow, where's Jerry Davis these days, man?
I just saw him at the opening gala of the Pan-African Film Festival. I haven't seen my brother in 1,000 years, man. It was so good to see him. Yeah, I got to call him because he texts me.
Hey, when you talk to him, tell him I'm looking for him. Give him my number, or give me his number. I'd like to connect with him myself.
Yes, brother. Yes.
He's always a good dude, man. He's always a good dude.
Yeah, we did some stuff, man, back in the day. We were all watching this thing called Hip Hop Blow Up. We was right there, Edna Sims Porter, you mentioned the ASCAP showcases. That was a good platform for the hip hop artists coming up.
A lot of folks came out of that showcase, man. That's another again. That's another story, man. That's another story. Ain't nobody told that story.
Yes.
Ain't nobody told that story before, because on Thursday or Tuesday.
I think it was Thursday. Was it Thursday? You're right. Was it Thursday or was it Tuesday? It was Tuesday nights. I think that one was Tuesday nights up on Sunset.
And it would have a gang of people looking to perform. I mean, and it got so bad, it got so tough. I remember she would have her rehearsals at a separate studio. I mean, auditions at another facility, because it was so many people wanted to be on the show. And it was a big show. I mean, it was a huge show. And like so many things, when she talked to me, that gang mentality kind of messed it up. The gang mentality came along, and gang mentality ended up with bullies with rags in their pockets. And some people ain't gonna go for that. And she's like, you know what? Forget it. I'll just leave it alone.
Yeah. I think that's what happened to the whole black music industry, because prior to the gangster rap coming up to the forefront, Lonzo, we have Jack the Rapper, Impact, BRE, and was wearing tuxedos and ice sculptures and all that kind of stuff, and then when the brothers came along with with beefing, it kind of threw us away.
You know what that you're absolutely correct, Greg. Along with the fact that no adults took the wheel of hip hop. No black adults took the wheel of hip hop. The reason why I didn't become a member of NWA was the studio I'm in right now is the same studio you see where that was portrayed in the movie Straight Outta Compton. I've been in this house for 30 some odd years. Okay. But nobody was really feeling us, and they kind of let us do our own thing. And we were like orphan children that grew up on our own. And by the time y'all realized we wasn't gonna die, it was too late. We was too big. It's like, I'm a grown ass man now. You can't be my daddy now. Okay. Right. I'm too old for a daddy now. Okay. And none of the major players who we respect. Now, here's the difference. This is why I'm sitting over here 34 years, everybody else is a millionaire. Because I grew up in an era that I call myself the missing link between R&B and hip hop. Okay. I grew up with Jeff D. Harris, Dootsy Williams. I knew Larkin Arnold. I knew Gerald Busby. I knew these guys personally. Okay. Yeah. I knew I could not take Larkin Arnold or Gerald Busby, a group called Niggas with Attitudes. It's not gonna fly. If I ain't got, I'm gonna go out the window in the CBS building. I'm gonna enter in the CBS building down there in Century City. Okay. Yeah. So I, as a person born in the 50s, I'm an old dude, born in 57. So what the word nigga was not something you said in mixed company back then. Okay. Right. That was derogatory for us to say against each other. So for me to try and take them something like that, and my position was, okay, y'all gonna do it here. My boy equates me to the guy that discovered how to split the atom. The splitting the atom was done for energy. They turned it into the bomb. Okay, right. It was splitting the atom was designed to create energy, but it wasn't. They turned it into something different. And doing the whole independent record thing. When I'm selling records, I'm got my out the trunk distribution. I got my West Coast distribution, and it was all designed to keep the whole game going. And the people who were in charge never embraced us. Okay, they never embraced us, and so we just, in spite of them not embracing us, it's like a parent who don't love the kids. Okay, kid like, I'm gonna do what I got to do. I don't care about you. Okay, if you don't care about me, I don't care about you. And so as people started to build and do more things, now I got all this money. Now what you want? You want to talk to me now because I got some money? No, and that's the attitude hip hop has had with the establishment for the most part. Okay, so you got so-called executives right now. In the early days of hip hop, you had executives that were 21, 22, 23 youngsters in executive power positions, making millions of dollars. Meanwhile, you got older folks who knew better about certain things, but because they trusted, these guys are making money, they just kind of let it go ahead and do what they do. And now it is festered into something that's not recognizable from what we did. It's not. It's almost been weaponized against us, man. And that's the part that makes older guys like me, Curtis Blow, and other folks meet on Thursdays to try to figure out how we can make a difference. Nice. All right, I'd like to be a part of that meeting. That's a pretty good stuff. I'll definitely send you the link. Yes, sir. Yes. When you think about, remember they came out with you had Niggas with Attitude, then you had Hoes with Attitude. I was done on that after that one. Well, you know what? And that was something that we talked. I did a show about that, and the whole female situation in hip hop has always been a little different until recently. They didn't. Hoes was hard to sell. Okay, it's hard to sell hoes per se, but it's easier to sell strippers. It's easier to sell strippers. So if you notice, just like back in the gangbanging day, in the gangster rap day, you had to be a gangbanger or a dope dealer to qualify streetwise to be a gangster rapper. Now it's like they found an entry point for the females stripping. Okay, you know, it's Cardi B, Meg Thee Stallion.
That's right.
A few other ladies that have gotten very popular in this game have gotten in. The entry point was stripping, and you know, and then they took the stigma off of stripping. Okay, the stigma ain't no more stigma on stripping. Stripping is the new pastime for anybody with some money and some stupidness.
Right,
so
right.
you got a handful of money and nothing to do with it, throw it at a stripper, and that became the new hustle. So it, you know, it welcomed in the age of the female rapper as well. And there's a lot of great female rappers who are not strippers. Don't. I didn't say that. I'm just saying, for when it comes to what the mainstream wants to look at, you got to have qualify in a certain type of way.
Yeah. It's unfortunate though, right? So like those that have the positive message are, you know, pushed down, and those who could be the raunchiest or most violent are the ones that are lifted up to the world now.
And that again, that's our fault. Because I tell you what, you wouldn't have nobody else from another part of town having their women doing the same thing. I'm just saying.
That's true. That's
true.
true.
Certain people would not allow that to happen. You would never. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna get in trouble though. You would never hear rabbis of Hollywood. Okay, you would never hear that like that. Right. You've had pastors of Hollywood or whatever it was.
Preachers of Hollywood. I remember.
Things ain't gonna happen. And I'm gonna stop right there if I get you canceled. Anyway.
You know, I remember Pastor Calvin Butts out there in New York took a steamroller to all the rap CDs.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. You know, when I look at some of the people that was claiming all this success, you was in the background when they was running over stuff with steamrollers and stuff. Okay, and that's the part people forget about that. You know, people who started claiming. I remember when I first met this person, I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. But no. You was in the background and you was talking about you work for this person. So as the dirt got thrown, you didn't get much on you, because I know if it was me, understand my position. I'm older than all them guys, Doc. I'm older than Easy, Dre, Cube, all of them. Okay, I know better. They would have me on the rotisserie at the NAACP meeting, okay, because I knew better. Okay, right. They would say, "Oh, you led them young men." No. It would be a different story for me. Okay, you know, dogs away. You ain't no gangster, and woo, and that was that people back then. You had credibility. Credibility was important. I couldn't be a rookie gangbanger at 28 years old, man. I got a house, kid, and had 3 nightclubs. I was gonna be a gangster. Come on, man, that ain't gonna fly. That ain't gonna fly, Greg. And if I did try to do it, I would get ridiculed. I wouldn't have made it out the first record. You know, especially with all the turmoil they went through initially. Like you said, with the steamrolling the records or whatever the case may be. Nah, but a lot of folks, you know, when Jerry Heller came to me and asked me, how does the Jewish guy? He asked me this question: how does the Jewish guy from the Valley work with a group called Niggas with Attitudes? I told him very carefully, okay, very carefully, you know. And that was he kept a little distance, but he also, you know, he was there. He made it happen. I couldn't have did it.
He made it happen.
The people that I knew, and officers that I knew, probably wouldn't have gave us no record deal. I don't give a damn how good it was. Bitches and hoes in the 80s with Larkin and Arnold. Come on, man. Brother just gave you Sherelle, right. You imagine me taking that to Clarence Avant? Come on, man. Come on. Dude, you can't. How am I going to take something like that to Clarence? And I knew I've met Clarence Avant. Clarence Avant and Larkin Arnold, all these guys ran together. Okay.
Yes.
Could you see me taking Niggas with Attitudes to Clarence Avant talking about bitches and hoes and shooting and killing black folks? Okay.
No, not at all.
Man, it wasn't going to happen. So it is what it is, Doc.
It is what it is, y'all. Look at that. 50 years of hip hop. We're reflecting right here. Part 1 of our series. We're going to keep reaching out to through our Rolodex, our friends and fam. We all came up together in this thing. We want to tell the stories from share the people who were there. This is the uncut truth. They had their hands in it, up to their follicles in hip hop.
They follicles up to their eyelid brows in this madness. There wasn't no money in it. And there wasn't no money in it. Okay. Wasn't no money in it back then, dude. I was hustling. I was hitting. I'm the OG king out the trunk. Okay.
That's right.
Out the trunk. Okay. Wow. In the Vega. I started off in my not my Vega. In my RX, I had a 240ZX for a while. I had a van, and they would be loaded down with records, man. That's what I did.
Right.
That's what I had to do to get it done.
Well, that street commerce is what's driving the music industry over in Africa too. And I know the major labels are over there now because of internet and everything. The kids all over can discover African music, which includes a lot of hip hop. Some they're trying to emulate the gangster rap of the United States, but others are very, very soulful, depending on which country you live on. And when I study this, Lonzo, I'm looking, I'm like, wow, this is like back in the day when they're selling out of their trunks and everything, because they sell it on the side of the road and all this here. And that's how they're building their popularity in these African nations.
You know what? Something, Greg, they do that we don't do no more as much as we used to. They dance.
Mm-hmm.
Dance. The music we have now is not dance oriented.
Danceable, right? Yeah.
It's not danceable, dude. This stuff is basic. It's real basic. No groove. It's just a beat and somebody talking on top of it, and there's no hook to sing. And that becomes, and it was part of hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
Was the fact that it was party music in the beginning.
That's right.
Okay? Ain't nobody over 50 years old don't know the words to Rapper's Delight. That's right.
Look, last question of the morning. Speaking of Rapper's Delight, where were you when you first heard that record?
I was at a record pool, man. I got the record in the record pool. It was 1979. I was in the R&B Disco Truth record pool. And I got the record. Oh, damn. I was just about to open the Eve After Dark up. I was just about to open the Eve After Dark up. In fact, that record, Knee Deep and Rapper's Delight, were the two hottest records for Eve After Dark in the very beginning when we first opened up. In fact, in my documentary, I show where what we did to theme the weekend, we would name it after the hottest record at that time. And Rapper's Delight was like the hottest thing going, and that just brought people out to the E like nobody's business. And we did Knee Deep, and then we did Rapper's Delight 2 and Knee Deep 2, and we kept doing Black Hole and Double Dutch. And that was how we themed our songs back then. I mean, our events, and it sometimes, man, that's how we titled our parties through the hottest records. And I never forget one of my boys from Z Cars. Everybody had grabbed all the hottest records, and he had to go to George Benson song, "Give Me the Night." Okay, that was unheard of. Nobody would use a George Benson song, and George Benson song, man. And he said, man, his dance was successful. He said, man, it gave us the night, and it just these are the things that I remember. That somebody need to give me a fat ass check, so I can sit down and tell it before I get senile around this joint, so we can do this mini series, the West Coast Story, and just tell the whole evolution, because it's the evolution, dude.
Yeah.
Evolution. Especially coming out of Compton, growing up in Compton in the 70s, the era when gangbanging first started off, how you had to be a well-dressed individual to be a gangbanger, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Even that part of the story where you wore Ace Deuces and starch Levi's with shine biscuits, and everything was military.
Back right there, dude.
Ace line jacket, your Ace dude, okay, your golf cap, all these things were a part of our growing up that led us to be what we were. And me as a DJ, because I was a DJ, because I was the man that made the party, I had to pass in all hoods, Mexican, Black, Crip, Blood, didn't make no difference. I tell the story sometime about how I'm DJing so much. I'm doing Russian parties. I'm doing luau's. Got the pig in the ground, the whole 9 yards.
Nice.
I'm doing a quinceañera out in Whittier. I'm the only Black person probably in Whittier. All me and my cousin.
Right.
And my cousin is there with me, helping me out. And somehow or another, my cousin got hold of some sherm. Okay?
Oh, wow.
He shermed out He's toe up, and the fight break out. 2 Latino groups to get to fighting right there at the party. And dude, this what I'm telling you is the honest to God truth, no embellishment whatsoever. And the guy who hired me, hey, Holmes, stop. Let the DJ go. Let the DJ go. Man, these dudes took my cousin, put his high ass in the car, helped me put my records in the car, my turntables, speakers, everything. Threw them in the car, paid me my money. I got in the car, and before I left the driveway, they went back to fighting. That ain't no lie.
Wow.
That's how they were back in the day. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
That's how things were back in the day.
LA history. So you had Crips and Bloods. Before that, it had the Gladiators, the Businessmen,
all that.
Slossons.
But they had a different mission, though, man. They had a different mission statement, dude. And you know something? I'm gonna say this since you didn't put me on this tangent right now. I'm in my Martin Luther King mode right quick. Gangbanging has played itself out in a lot of places, but for some reason it still exists. Okay, the need to belong to something still exists in our community, whether it be a church, a gang, bowling, motorcycle club, whatever. We're very tribal people.
Tribal, okay? Sure.
We're very tribal people, and my wish, my dream, would be to have gangbangers rethink their position and their mission statements in the community and show more pride for having brothers walk the stage of a state college than walking the yard of a state penitentiary. Okay? Okay? You got the same pride, more pride having more. We got brothers. We got 20 brothers at Cal State Dominguez. We got 20 brothers at USC. As opposed to we got 50 niggas. We got 50 homies in the yard right there at Folsom. No, man, no. Realign that pride, man. We got 50 youngsters right now going to Cal State, going to Compton College. We got another 25 at Southwest. Our hood is coming up. But for some reason, man, I would like to see that. I would like to see that be making hood fraternities as opposed to just destructive gangs. And all you gotta do is take the violence out and redirect it. Take the violence out.
Yeah.
Take the violence out and redirect them to another state facility like a college as opposed to a penitentiary. I'm done.
All right, take the violence out. There it is.
Now I'm preaching. Now you got me preaching. I'm gonna pass the hat.
Amen.
Give my money now.
Coffee Conversations with Greg J. Culturally relevant conversations from a global perspective. We're examining 50 years of hip hop, telling the story, just reaching out and the people that were there, the people that really made it happen. That's what we're doing right here. You can view this on demand at all of our Facebook pages, and then we're repurposing the audio where this podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcast, iHeart, Spreaker, Spotify, just type it in there, Coffee Conversations with Greg J. It's also on YouTube, so help me up my YouTube game. We need that. Like and subscribe. Coffee Conversations with Greg J. Also, too, at Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com. All right, it's Black History Month. We had the art show, scheduled for this weekend. Thank you for all of you that have been reaching out to try to find out what's going on with our art exhibit. We're going to postpone it a couple of days because it's about to be raining around these parts. And so we'll open up maybe on Sunday and go on through the next week. Keep your eye on our platforms for the final word on what we're going to do with that. Got some great artists, Buena Johnson, Muhammad Mubarak, Shelton Gillis, young Skylar Bush as our student spotlight, and others. And so it's going to be really, really great celebrating excellence ceremony. Rhonda Love is out there honoring the Black legacy families, including Kelvin Anderson and them. The Anderson family will be honored as part of celebrating Black excellence. Keep your eye out on our platforms to know about all of that. All right. Well, look, love one another. Alonzo?
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it, Doc. Look for the Eve After Dark documentary, folks. Compton Love coming to a theater near you or a streaming service near you. Also, check out my podcast today at 6:00. NWA Stories with Lonzo, me and Dusty. We throwing down 6:00 on YouTube. Check out my Facebook page. All the above, folks. All the above.
Yeah. I'll be there 6 p.m. Check it out. Yes. Thank you, Lonzo, for coming through, my brother. Let's get it.
Greg, I appreciate it. Anytime.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, y'all. Love one another.
Peace.
Peace and blessings.